Welcome back, guys, to the Great Ace Attorney Adventures, where last episode, after bringing to the judge's attention that this music disc might be a classified message stolen from the government, the accusations against Mr. Graydon mounted as he was bade to counter them with new testimony, within which we came across the issue that the played recording wasn't actually working Morse code, but discovered a secret compartment underneath the music box that might allow a second disc to complete the message. The Skulking Brothers also chiming in on the testimony, we learned that they ran a milk delivery business with their old friend Ash, who back then went by the surname of Milverton, which was changed due to his parents' divorce, leading to a solid link with the prize-fired victim of the case 2 months ago. Is it not the case that the brickmaker Mr. Mason Milverton was your father? I don't... As I believe I mentioned earlier, your family history will have been thoroughly checked when you join the civil service, and it really would take no time at all for the court to subpoena those records. The truth is, you've been illegally acquiring highly confidential government information and selling it on to McGilded in collaboration with your father. The new facts and evidence unveiled by the cross-examination of this witness all come together to reveal the truth. The truth, you say? That you collaborated with your father, Mr. Mason Milverton, in illegal dealings with Magnus McGilded. By dint of this music box, you mean, counsel? Yes, stealing information being sent in secret government communications and selling it on to McGilded. Mr. Graydon concocted this elaborate scheme of using 2 music box discs to encode the information, as presumably a safety measure against the information falling into the wrong hands. And a very effective one. I shouldn't have given the scheme any credence whatsoever. The deal with McGilded went sour, and the brickmaker met his end. Yes, but before he was arrested, McGilded managed to temporarily dispose of the stolen disc at the pawnbroker. Then, having learned of the situation, you appeared at Winterbank's 2 days ago, in an attempt to recover the 2 articles McGilded had placed in pawn there. But that attempt failed. One of the discs was seized by the police and the other you never found. So that same night, you enlisted the help of the Skulking Brothers and broke into the pawnbrokery. This time, determined to recover the second disc. Are you suggesting that the second disc was inside the music box? We never knew nothing about that. On the night that Mr. Winterbank was killed, the intruder to the pawnbrokery touched one item and one item alone, the music box. And rather ingeniously demonstrated using the 2 prints from the security camera, indeed. So the question that naturally begs answering is this: why was only that one article disturbed? The answer is obvious, because it contained the second disc, which the intruder was desperate to retrieve. Since if it were to fall into the hands of the police, it would be proof of high treason. Well, Mr. Graydon, do you deny that all of this actually began on that fateful night, 2 months ago? I refuse to accept any of this nonsense. Sir, there appears to be blood seeping through the sleeve of your jacket. What? 2 nights ago, we know that 3 shots were fired at the scene of the crime in Winterbank's pawnbrokery. 1 took the life of the pawnbroker himself. 1 struck the pouch around Mr. Shelm's waist. And the final bullet struck the calendar on the wall of the shop, having first pierced the arm of one of the intruders. Mr. Graydon, that wound on your arm that you seem to be trying to hide, it's a bullet wound, isn't it? He's got you now, me old China. Time to call it quits and croak, I reckon. Don't acknowledge my presence there under any circumstances whatsoever. Those are my terms, remember? And I paid you handsomely to comply. Clearly I was a fool to think I could trust some common backslum thieves. Fine, I admit it. I was there in Windybanks that night. I paid this pair 10 guineas to accompany me, and as you've noticed, I sustained an injury in the course of my adventures. But that is all. I admit to nothing more. Stealing government secrets? Negotiating with Mr. McGilded? As God is my witness, I'm sure I recall nothing of the sort. He's not going to go down without a fight. Not until I can show hard evidence, I suppose. Nevertheless, the defense has now established a crucial fact. Which is... well, we know that one bullet was fired from each of the two firearms we have in evidence. The bullet from the skulking brother's gun hit the pouch around Mr. Sholmes' waist. And the bullet from Mr. Windybank's gun clearly must have been the one that caught Mr. Graydon on the arm.
Indeed it must. We can rule out the possibility that the man shot himself.
And that leads us to only one conclusion. Mr. Windybank was shot by a third gun, which can only have been fired by the third intruder.
Goodness!
That's right, Mr. Graydon. The only person who could possibly have shot Mr. Windybank that night is you.
Hold it!
You little upstart! You made a grave mistake when you summoned me here. What? What's that supposed to mean? Yes, as you rightly say, I was there at the pawnbroker's. I did my best to hide the fact, naturally. I had no intention of ruining the distinguished career I'd built for myself at the communication station. But did the thought never cross your mind? Did you never consider the possibility? What? What do you mean? What thought? What possibility? The possibility that if I was there at the scene, I may have witnessed the crucial moment. You see, this makes me a key witness in this case, and I have my hands firmly around the neck of your client. What?
Are you suggesting?
I saw it all. I saw the very moment that pickpocket girl pointed the gun at that poor defenseless pawnbroker and shot him. You... what? Super deflection attack.
Order! 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 Well, it would seem we are finally entering the last act of this theatrical trial.
Mr. Graydon. Yes? I trust you are fully aware of the implications here. If it is shown that your claim is false, you will have incriminated yourself as the killer. Oh, I understand fully.
And then I must ask you to give your formal testimony once more. You will explain to the court precisely what you saw at the moment the defendant allegedly shot the victim.
Nothing would give me greater pleasure. The moment of the shooting. While these ruffians were jostling with the broker, I was still near the entrance of the shop. When Windybank threw Nash over the counter, I felt a sharp pain in my arm. I pursued the man, but he shut himself in the storeroom. I could see him through the peephole in the door, though. The accused, in a black coat, shot the man in the back as he was trying to flee to safety. I saw the blood spatter all over that wretched girl. Then she tossed the gun out of the peephole, so I picked it up and made my escape. Okay, the blood spatter.
Good gracious! This is quite extraordinary testimony. You claim, sir, under oath, to have clearly seen the defendant pulling the trigger. Order! Order! Order!
It wasn't my intention to testify in this way. But neither is my intention to be found guilty of a murder I didn't commit. So you see, my hand has been forced. I tell the truth now as an act of self-preservation. The truth? Until now, the prosecution was completely unaware of these details. Yes, well, sorry about that. Having shot me in the arm, the pawnbroker was then shot in the back by the accused. And as I said, she was showered in his blood. You say the blood spattered over the accused's coat. Are you sure on that point? Oh yes, quite sure. All over the black overcoat that pickpocketed girl was wearing at the time. I mean, this almost seems like a weirdly simple trap, doesn't it? Where's the, Wait, we don't have a photo of that? Wait, we don't have a photo of that? What happened? Wait, we don't have a photo of her next to him. Oh my god. She was wearing the black overcoat at the time of this point. Oh, okay, this isn't as simple as well. I thought I was just literally going to present the picture of her next to, you know, the dead body and go, well, she's not wearing the coat. And she's not spattered in blood. But we can prove that the blood was someone else's. But now, I guess we're not presenting, we're pressing or going at this. We need more information by the look of it. All over the black overcoat that pickpocketed girl was wearing at the time.
Really? If her coat could somehow be shown to harbor vestiges of blood, that would be conclusive evidence here.
I mean, it does. Problem. We must tread carefully. Such an investigation is entirely possible, my lord. What? Only very recently, a German scientist has developed a technique to identify human blood. And so here's the true science, not some amateurish detective's dubious foray into the world of chemistry. There's nothing dubious about Hurley's work. His ideas are all sound. Ideas are no use to us here. In science, as in law, theories must be proven before they stand. In Germany, the technique has already been employed in the courtroom as the basis of evidence. Scotland Yard has a small quantity of the chemical reagent used. With your lordship's permission, we could shatter all vestiges of doubt within minutes. This doesn't look good, Bruno. Why not? Well, we know, don't we? There's blood all over the front of Guinea's coat. If they test it with their chemicals... Oh, help, you're right! I was forgotten that happened yesterday. Don't move, Guinea. I'm going to shoot. I'm now worried that my memory's bad and she was wearing the coat when she was lying down next to Mr. Winterbank. I just remember green, not black coat. But that's not Mr. Winterbank's blood. That stain is from 2 months ago. That's Mr. Mason's blood. When he was stabbed by McGilded, was wearing the coat at the time. So the question is, how does he know that? My lord, the defense objects to the test proposed by the prosecution. Gregson.
Overruled. Lord Van Zeeks, make it so at once.
I mean, if I'm allowed to do weird experiments, I guess they are too. With pleasure, my lord.
And while we await the results, the defense may proceed with the cross-examination.
Once they find that blood on the overcoat, Gina will be...
Counsel!
Yes, my lord.
Your cross-examination.
Of course, my lord. This cross-examination doesn't go well, but I don't manage to uncover some decisive evidence or a really compelling clue now. I have a very bad feeling about the outcome of this trial. The thing is, we always play reactively and defensively, so it just sounds like, to be honest, we might even want to get this whole thing over with just so that the blood can be found and then we can counter that. But we'll press the moment of the shooting. While these ruffians were jostling with the broker, I was still near the entrance to the shop.
Hold it!
Mr. Winnebank emerged from the storeroom, I believe. Ringo and Nash were scouring the counter when he suddenly appeared and flew at them. He already had the revolver in his hand. Fortunately, I wasn't too close. I've never been so scared in all my life! Yeah, we're just your regular mild-mannered burglars, that's all. We don't like violence. Says the pair who carry a gun. What do you mean when you say you were near the entrance to the shop? I was in the doorway, running my eyes over the shelves of forfeited items. Looking for the music box, of course. The broker went for Nash in the first place. Then Ringo joined in, making it 2 against 1, so I assumed they could handle the situation. But I was wrong. I was trying to help my little bruv, but the old geezer chucked me over the blooming counter. So I pulled my gun on the old fella, and that soon made him scarper. The pair of you setting upon the poor defenseless pawnbroker together. Shame on you. Sorry, Gov. When Winnebank threw Nash over the counter, I felt a sharp pain in my arm.
Hold it!
You mean that's the moment you were shot? Yes, though I didn't immediately realize what had happened, of course. Things crashed to the floor from the counter as the 3 men were brawling. It was at exactly that moment that it happened, though I didn't hear the gunshot. And the bullet went on to strike the calendar in the wall behind you. So it would appear. When I looked at my arm, I saw it was bleeding badly, so I wrapped my handkerchief around it. Seeing as I couldn't explain what had happened to a doctor, I had no choice but to wait for it to heal. I didn't imagine it would still be bleeding 2 days later. Did Mr. Winnebank intend to shoot you, do you think? Well, now, I don't imagine he even noticed I was there, to be honest. Perhaps the gun went off accidentally. Anyway, it didn't quite strike home. When I pulled my gun on him, he tried to shove me out of the way. And then I scarpered through that door out back. At which point?
At which point? What did you do? Yes, correct voice.
I pursued the man, but he shut himself in the storeroom. I could see him through the peephole in the door, though.
Hold it!
You mean you chased after him? I don't recall the reason why, but I ran after him to the back of the shop. And what about this peephole in the door you mentioned?
Well, unsurprisingly, the storeroom's door is a solid job, made of stout wood.
But there's a small opening here about head height that lets you see what's what in there from the outside. Actually, I should know that, shouldn't I? I looked through it myself that night. What about you burgling brothers? Did you see what went on through the peephole as well? No, not likely, Gov. Didn't see nothing of the sort, Gov. I doubt these 2 buffoons were even aware of the peephole's existence. So the skulking brothers were there, but they didn't see this killing of Mr. Winnebank take place. Inside the storeroom, I could see the broker and that young girl standing there.
A defendant?
Yes, though neither of them noticed that I was looking. The girl raised her gun and pointed it straight at the men.
And then? What did you see next?
The accused in a black coat shot the man in the back as he was trying to flee to safety.
Hold it!
How? Yes, when the crime was discovered, the defendant was found with a gun in her hand. But that was Mr. Winnebank's gun, from which only a single bullet had been fired. And as we've already established, Mr. Graydon, that bullet was fired at you. Ah, but no, it wasn't the broker's gun that the pickpocket girl had when I saw her. Yes, the bullet from Winnebank's gun grazed my arm, and yes, the Skulkin's gun grounded the detective. But this was another gun entirely, a third gun. The broker's gun was not the murder weapon, so clearly there had to be a third firearm involved. In other words, the accused must have had her own gun with her at the time.
Objection!
But no other gun was found at the scene. Calm yourself, counsel. Sorry. You must consider the events in order. At At first I saw the broker and the girl glaring at each other, but then all of a sudden, the broker turned to run. And it was at that moment that the little gutter rat shot him in the back.
A chilling image, I must say.
I saw the blood spatter all over that wretched girl. Oh, I need to press that. And back we go with the blood splatter.
Hold it!
All over her. Yes, through the peephole I saw it clearly. Of course, the stains are invisible now, what with the coat being such a dark color. But I assure you, that garment is sullied with the victim's blood. Well, it is sullied with blood, that's for sure. But it's not Mr. Winnibank's blood, is it? No, that's right. It's Mr. Mason Milverton's blood from when McGill had stabbed him 2 months ago. It's so annoying. If they'd only accept Hurley's chemical analysis, we could prove that. But they won't, so unfortunately we can't use it as evidence to support our cause. Or our case. Bother. Then she tossed the gun out the peephole, so I picked it up and made my escape. Why? Did I hear you correctly? She threw the gun out of the room. That's right. After the broker fell to the floor, she started walking over.
Over where exactly?
In the direction of the storeroom door, where I was watching. Of course, I quickly retreated, and then the girl dropped the gun through the peephole onto the floor on my side of the door. So, like, for example, that bullet seemed to be through and through or not, I'm not sure. It might have been stuck in the body. But where's all the rest of the blood spatter? So the blood spattered entirely onto the coat and nowhere else. Yeah, okay. Like, but I don't have a picture of this. How do I not have a picture of the crime scene when she was in it? This is like such a big question. Go drop the gun for the peephole onto the floor on my side of the door.
But why on earth would you do such a thing?
I couldn't tell you. Perhaps she was hoping to distance herself from the murder weapon. Without thinking, I went and picked it up. I suppose I was worried about just leaving it there, in case any more tragedies took place.
So it was you, in fact, who took the third gun from the scene of the crime.
Yes, it was yours truly. I left the clear up to my lackeys and left. Clear up? We made a bit of a mess around the counter, so Mr. Whistle and Flute here told us to tidy up. He thinks he's our blooming mum sometimes. Well, I was paying you enough, by God. Ugh. Tell me, Mr. Graydon, when you left the pawnbrokery that night, was it by any chance with a second disc in your jacket pocket? Why'd he tell you that? You're like a bull at a gate, aren't you? What? Why is this going on? Why are you being grabbed?
Excuse me.
Gentlemen.
Something wrong, sunshine?
That should be my line? Do you realize you were just violently shaking Mr. Skulkin?
Blimey, this dude's a bit of an hooligan, ain't he?
What was going on just now?
You saw him? He grabbed me whistle.
What are the places, he said? Didn't you mention the third gun when we got down to the station? Why didn't you?
'Cause we didn't know nothing about it. All that flaming people on the door. Sorry about that. I can be prone to losing my rag sometimes. Not it, are you?
Oh, blimey. See the way he's looking at me? I'm telling you, this dude gives me the willies. That was strange. The inspector doesn't normally get quite as worked up as that. He wouldn't normally grab someone. No, that wasn't like Gregsy at all. He's normally all sweetness and light, no matter what I say to him. Yes, well, I think you might be a special case, Iris. Well, anyway, that was definitely out of character. It's been a lot that's out of character. He barely ate his chips until now. My lord, This is what I expected. Requesting your lordship's permission to interrupt the cross-examination.
Explain yourself, officer.
I have the results of the test that was ordered earlier, my lord. Ah, the blood on the accused overcoat.
Thank you, officer. Very well. The cross-examination is hereby temporarily suspended. I presume you have no objection, counsel?
No, my lord. Well, there you have it. The report, please, Inspector. Yes, sir. Traces of human blood were found on the overcoat of the defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade. The extent of the stains, it would appear that they were the result of spattering following a gunshot wound. End of report.
Goodness me!
See? What did I tell you?
Objection!
No, the blood on that coat is not Mr. Windibank's.
What on earth makes you say that, counsel?
The coat originally belonged to Magnus McGilded. Just before his coat was deposited in Windibank's, McGilded had fatally stabbed Mr. Mason Milverton. So the blood on that overcoat is the blood of the brickmaker from the omnibus case.
Objection!
Well, the dead cannot speak. Isn't that right, my Nipponese friend? Sorry? 2 months ago in this very courtroom, did you not argue fervently for McGilded's innocence? And yet now that the man is dead, you brand him as a murderer. Your conduct shatters any shred of respect you may have earned for yourself in this country. But that was... I'll call it a bally disgrace. Treachery, that's what it is. How to determine whether the blood on that coat is 2 months old or not? Even a stereoscope couldn't help the answer to that problem pop out. It can't be done. But, we use Mr. Sholmes' specially formulated chemicals. Mr. Sholmes is a detective, not a chemist. Would you put such faith in a chemical formula devised by me, for example, when I'm a communications officer? I held out Plotsky to a starving boy and he ran away crying. Okay. Herlock Sholmes is barely more than a figment of the public's imagination. His name carries no weight in this courtroom, and no weight at all. How could you say that? Victory is sweet indeed. This proves that my testimony is the whole truth, from start to finish.
How to arrive at such a conclusion, sir?
As the witness said, the accused coat was spattered with the blood of the victim. The only way Mr. Graydon could possibly have known that fact is if he saw it happen. In other words, his testimony is solid, and the conclusion is singular. It was the accused who shot the victim in this case. That is the whole truth. Ah! My lord! Been a long battle, this one, but this old warhorse has something to say now, if you please.
Mr. Foreman.
At this moment, sir, the squadron has reached its final decision.
Ready, men? All for one now.
Sir!
Guilty.
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 There had to be a third.
Well, it would appear the ladies and gentlemen of the jury have reached a unanimous verdict.
The defense has consistently failed to unpick this witness's testimony. Here's to any attempt you may make at unpicking the jurors' decisions being equally successful. I don't believe it. After I've come so far. How is it all unraveling on me so fast? How very distressing. be held in such low esteem. Wouldn't you agree, Mr. Naruhodo? Are you in disguise, are you?
Officer, you've delivered the report now. That will be all, thank you.
It occurs to me with some regularity, Mr. Naruhodo, that scientific truths are determined not by science, but by none other than the human mind. I know that voice. Am I going mad? I do wonder. Are we all having a collective delusion? Or not? Is this really him? The figment of the public imagination, made real, in the flesh, summoned, a primal? I do not know. But we will continue next episode with the great Ace Attorney adventures to find out. Another summation, examination awaits. Oh God, our third in one case. I'll see you guys then for more.
Bye-bye.